great bread, you need a great starter. Few years ago, I did have a video about how to make your own starter at home using the rye flour. It was quite successful, but recently I learned few tricks from this lady. Her name is Christine. I will leave the link to her YouTube video because she's absolutely amazing, and I believe she's a scientist. So her starter takes 2 weeks instead of 1 week like mine, and it makes so much sense. And her starter use bread flour mostly than rye flour. So I create my own version based on hers. It's going to take 2 weeks instead of 1 week, but don't worry. All you have to do is just stir flour and water every day or every other day, especially the first week. So like I said, the big difference, we're going to use the bread flour between 70% up to 90% and 10% or 30% of rye flour. We need the rye flour because it gives the bacteria some nutrition and it helps the starter to rise up. But we need also the bread flour to give us a great structure. Our starter is going to be 100% hydration, meaning the amount of the flour by weight, of course, equal the amount of water by weight. And most of the time we're going to work with 30 gram water with 30 gram flour. I don't want to go less than that because once you start building your starter, it's going to be difficult to work with it in general. Sometimes we run into a problem. So to reduce those issues, it's better to have a big amount of flour and water to help us to capture the bacteria. And I know we're going to see some waste, meaning we're going to feed the starter and we're going to throw some of it out. We have to, but I'm going to go through the steps how to minimize that and also what to do with the leftover of the starter. So stick with me, it's a long process, but you're going to like your starter because this one is just amazing, and I'm adopting it starting this year because I just love it. The bread came out so nicely. So after this video, I'm going to release another video how to make your artisanal bread using this starter. So let me show you all the steps. This time I'm just going to show you how to build the starter. It will be another video how to freeze it if you can't use the starter for a few months, or just how to store it in the fridge and how long. So that will be another video. Today it's just how to build the starter. And if you have any questions, please leave those questions or comment or input in the comment section of this video. I'll be happy to answer them. And if I miss any steps, please ask the question. I will have a post on my chefrashida.com and I will put the link in the description. Make sure to check that out. If I miss anything on the video, I will update the post. I do grind my own flour when I'm making my own artisanal bread. Here for the starter, I am going to need to use rye flour. So I'm using rye berries. I'm grinding them myself using my own wheat grinder. I do have a video about it, which brand I'm using and how to use it. I will leave the link in the description of this video. And also for this starter, I'm going to use the bread flour. I'm using the brand from King Arthur. It's organic. It's the best bread flour here in the States. So now we're ready to get started. We need the rye flour and bread flour, a mixture of 30% of rye flour. So we weigh in 30 grams of rye flour with 70 grams of bread flour. You can double that. This is just a mixer to get started to feed the starter. So you put that all in a jar and you put it on the side. Make sure you mix it very, very well. Here I'm showing you a second method how to mix the flours. It's not necessary to show you all of that, but I thought it was fun to put the 2 flours in a deep jar and just shake it. So all we need is the flours, the 2 flours, and water. A lot of time and a lot of patience. Good luck. Using a digital scale, we weigh the flour, then we weigh the water. We're going to do what we call 1-to-1, 40 grams of flour with 40 grams of water. We're going to use the metric system, meaning the gram. We're not using the cups and the spoons. I'm sorry, this is baking. It has to be accurate. Then we're going to mix both of them using a spatula. I'm using 2 spatulas because one clean up the other one. So we're going to mix them very, very well. Then we're going to pour the mixture in another jar, clean. The diameter of the base and the top is kind of the same. That way we can track the activities and the progress of the starter accurately. We try to not have the starter on the side of the jar. Keep it clean if we can, but I was not able to do that. That means I have to clean up. We're not going to use a regular lid. We're not going to close that jar. What we're going to do, we're going to put a cheesecloth on the top of the jar to prevent the dust coming into our starter, but also to allow the wild bacteria which is around us coming into the starter. And we're going to keep this jar at room temperature for at least 24 hours. Since the optimum temperature for our starter is 75 degrees, I'm using this fancy box where I can control the temperature. But you can put your starter in the oven while it's off and the light is on, and it should be fine. 24 hours later, this is what we get. Not a lot of activities, but we have a layer of gooey stuff, and it smells really bad. It does not smell good at all. So all we have to do, mix it very well in the same jar, then pour it in a different clean jar and cover it with the cheesecloth and wait another 24 hours, meaning until the next day. Of course, at room temperature, the optimum temperature is always 75. The next day, we see some activities, and if we smell it, it does not smell that good. It's better, but it doesn't smell good, and it's almost double. So now we're going to feed it for the first time. We're going in a clean jar, we're going to pour 20 grams of starter. Sometimes I pour 30 grams, but 20 grams is good enough. Then the rest of it, we have to throw it out. It's not good. Don't use it, please. You're throwing out only like, what, 10-20 grams of flour, so it's not that bad. Then we're going to add 20 grams of water, then 20 grams of the mix, the 30% rye flour. And you mix it very, very well. Then you pour it in another clean jar. You don't have to do that, but I always like to pour the starter or store the starter, especially when I'm feeding it, especially when I am building it for the first time. I have to put it in a clean jar so I can track the progress. So in case if it goes up and then it goes down while I'm away from it, I can see that from a clean jar. Then I will put a rubber band around the jar just to track the progress. And this time we're going to cover it again with a cheesecloth, and we leave it at room temperature for 12 hours this time. Hours later, we have some nice activity, but it still doesn't smell good. It's getting better. It looks healthy. So we're going to stir it very well. Then we take 20 grams of the starter, we add 20 grams of the water and 20 grams of flour. It's 1 to 1 to 1. You may use 30 grams for each one of them. The leftover of the starter, we have to throw it out. It's not good for anything. This is the first week. It's not good for anything. To mix the three of them very well. Then we put it in a clean jar. This time the jar is going to be bigger because we're seeing more and more activity. Then we're going to cover it again with a cheesecloth because we still need more wild bacteria which is around us. The diameter of the top and the bottom should be close to each other because so you can read accurately the progress. And by the way, for the schedule, you can do this in the morning, then 12 hours later you do the next feeding in the evening so it doesn't interrupt your regular schedule. And we keep it at room temperature at 75 degrees again. We cover it with a cheesecloth and we wait another 12 hours. 12 hours later, we see again some activity but less. And that's normal. Don't panic. The starter has its own mind. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. But that is very normal. The smell is getting better. It does smell a little bit nicer. And all you have to do now is to feed it 1 to 1 to 1. Meaning you take 20 grams of starter, you throw away the rest of it. Then you're going to add 20 grams of flour, then 20 grams of water. And you stir it very well. That is very, very important. And then you put it in a clean jar with a rubber band around it to track the progress of the starter. And leave it at room temperature for a good 12 hours. Always at 75 degrees. When it comes to the room temperature, if your room temperature is kind of very low, you may have to leave the starter for 14 to 16 hours instead of 12 hours. If the temperature is quite high, in the high 70s, then within 10 hours your starter is ready to be fed. So you have to take note of your starter and make your own observation and adjust it to the room temperature because the temperature is so crucial to our starter. So this time we're not going to cover it with the cheesecloth for the first time. We're just going to use a tight lid because I think we have enough of bacteria in our starter to keep going. And we leave it in this jar for 12 hours at 75 degrees. I think by now you get the point. All you have to do, take the 20 gram or 30 gram of the starter, add the same weight of flour and the same weight of the water, you stir it, put it in a clean jar, wait 12 hours at the optimum temperature, always 75, and keep doing that for the next few days. Once a while, you may see your starter not performing well. That's okay. Keep doing the same thing. Most people, when they see the starter started doubling in volume, they think, hey, it is ready now. That is not true. The starter is not ready. We absolutely need 2 weeks. So be careful. Keep feeding this starter twice a day. I will let you know when to stop. Trust me. Now we start seeing more than the double of the volume of the starter. That is very good. Now we are on the day 10. We're going to feed the starter at 1 to 2 and 2. Then that's twice a day. On the day 11, we're doing 1 to 3, 3, twice a day. On the day 12, we're doing 1 to 5, 5, twice a day. When I say 1 5 to 5, meaning 10 grams of starter, we add in 50 grams of water plus 50 grams of flour, and we stir and we keep it at room temperature for 12 hours. At this moment on the day 12, our starter is so strong, it's almost triple. So when we feed it with the flour, we're going to feed it with the flour which is 10% of rye flour instead of 30%, because we don't need that much rye flour. And the smell of the starter is so beautiful, it's strong, and it really goes very high. So this is very good, and you keep doing 1 to 5 to 5 until the last day, until the day 14. So we have been doing this for 2 weeks. So after the last feeding, you stir it very well and you put it in a clean jar, you put a tight lid on it and put it in the refrigerator until the next video to show you how to store it, how to maintain it, because this video is just about how to build the starter. By the way, I was using a regular thermometer to make sure that the temperature around me is most of the time is around 75. It's just a regular thermometer. We're definitely done right now. So I put a small summary. You can read through it. You can slow down this video clip and you read through all the steps for the 2 weeks of working on this starter. And please feel free to leave any comments if I miss anything. I keep repeating the same thing. Take your time, read the recipe again and again, watch the video again and again. Try to make your own starter. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Do it again. It's not a simple thing, but it's very rewarding when you take your time and do it slowly. It does pay off a lot. Good luck. And by the way, I always post the full detailed recipe on my website at chefrashida.com. Check that out all the time. There is always new updates. It will be another video how to freeze it if you can't use the starter for few months, or just how to store it in the fridge and how long. So that will be another video. Please remember, I'm on Instagram, and leave your comment, your question on YouTube. Read the description. If you have any question, ask them. I'll be happy to answer. See you soon. Bye bye.